That's old age. All right, well, welcome to ITS Georgia. My name's Jenny Johnson. I'm the president of the organization for this year. It's my last year. But welcome. This is our first monthly meeting of the year, so we have a lot of great things in store for you guys. Some good monthly meetings planned out, a good conference that'll be down in Athens this year in October. So just want to welcome, do we have any first-time attendees here? If you want, you can go ahead and stand up and introduce yourselves. That way everyone can kind of get to know you. Not everybody at once. There you go. Welcome. Anyone else? I saw a lot of hands. We'll wait.
My name is Sam Woodring. I'm here representing Access Communications.
Welcome.
I'm Annabelle Guthling, Wavetronics.
I'm Marcus Swedish, impersonating Andy Flager.
You want to go in the back?
Yeah, sure. Maxwell Atkins.
Awesome.
Who are you? I'm from Georgia Tech, a second year school.
Anyone else? All right, well, welcome, guys. Another thing we like to let people do, if there's been any recent job changes or promotions, if you wanted to let the organization know, you're more than welcome to do that during this time. No?
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Holt. I've met a few of you in the past. I have a new job at Stantec now. So.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Like I said, we got a lot planned this year, and one of the things that we like to do is kind of go through some of our committee updates, just kind of let you know what's upcoming, what we have going on, ways you can get involved, and things like that. So I'll go ahead. I'll let membership go. Tom is our membership chair for the year. Do you want to give an update?
Yeah, just a quick update. Bill Wells will be sending out the second round of invoices later today. And then just make sure you pay those. If you don't pay those, in the March 27th meeting, you have to pay the non-membership registration. So you don't want to get caught with that.
Yeah, so we've been giving you guys a little bit of a grace period. If you haven't paid your dues yet, you've been able to still register as a member, but starting next month, you'll have to pay those higher non-member rates. So be on the lookout for those invoices. If you don't find it for some reason, you can go ahead and email us, the ITS Georgia email address on our website. Networking social, where's Rachel? Right there.
Trivia tomorrow night at the Wing Factory, 7 o'clock.
Be there.
That's all I got. Be there. Because I'm horrible at trivia.
I think the registration, is it still open for that, Bill? Yeah. I think I just saw an email actually go through. So there'll be an update. If you don't see that, you can go on the website and kind of get the details a little bit at Wing Factory in Cumberland. And that should be our last of the committee updates for today. Not too much, but if you're interested in getting involved with ITS Georgia, we're always looking for more help. If you go to our website, you can see a list of the committees and kind of see who the committee chairs are and who the board managers are and things like that. So if you're interested in getting involved, feel free to go on there, see what you might be interested in helping with, and get back with us. You can reach out to the board managers, the committee chairs, to myself or whoever, and we can get you plugged in and kind of get more active in the organization. A couple of other events going on. There's a Georgia Smart webinar series. The next one will be webinar number 3. It'll be Thursday, March 7th from noon to 1. And actually, Dr. Gwen, he's a senior research engineer with the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering here at Tech. He's going to be giving that. And the topic is connected vehicles, transportation technology, and traffic management. So it should be a pretty good one. Well, if you go to itsgeorgiawebsite.org, we have the registration there. You can get to it, and even if you can't make the live webinar, if you're interested in still seeing a recorded version, still go ahead and register, and they'll send you the link to that recorded version. I think that's it for those. Where's Chuck? Chuck. Chuck Bailey. There you are. You want to come on up? Sure. I mentioned it earlier, but we'll have our ITS Georgia annual meeting this year. It's going to be October 6th through the 8th in Athens. We got some pretty cool venues for dinners and banquets and things like that. The KCI, Chuck Bailey, is our conference chair for the year, and I'm going to let him give an update. Yeah, you can come up here.
Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? I'm Chuck Bailey with KCI. As you know, we are KCI is chairing the committee. The annual meeting and exposition in Athens. It'll be the October the 6th through the 8th at the Classic Center in Athens, Georgia. I put a couple of handouts on every table calling for volunteers. We have good things planned. We're staying at the Hyatt Place, which is right adjacent to the Classic Center. Have a reception set up on Sunday night at the Graduate in Athens, a couple of blocks from the hotel. Still working on some of the social activities, but we do have a progressive dinner set for Georgian Hall. Again, a couple of blocks from the hotel at Hyatt Place on Monday night. I've got some committee chairs already set up. Technical committee is Mahesh and Ben Robinson from HNTB are kind of going to work together for the technical committee. Sponsorship committee, we have Scott Moeller with AECOM kind of leading that. The exhibition coordinator, Yancey Bachman, has agreed again to assist and do that for us. Registration table coordinator, I see Dino with Jacobs, and Holly Painter from KCI is going to assist in that as well. But by all means, we're calling for volunteers to assist. I did get someone to volunteer a little bit earlier for the networking reception coordinator. So by all means, reach out to me, reach out to a few of the people's names I've mentioned. You know, all conferences, we're only as good as the volunteers and to get the program put together. So if you ever wanted to assist or help, please let me know.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Nice. And those committees, they'll be working to kind of put together a theme and what we want the technical aspects to kind of gear around. So I know call for papers will be coming out soon. So we also look for volunteers, but also some of you guys to come and speak at the conference itself will be really good. So we'll keep you posted. I'll let Chuck kind of give an update each month. But yeah, go ahead and mark your calendars for October 6th through 8th. That's a Sunday through a Tuesday in Athens. It should be a lot of fun. We have Karen Winger here actually today. She's going to come up. She's the director of Gwinnett Transit. She's going to kind of give us a brief update for the Gwinnett Transit referendum, which is coming up. I think the March 19th is the vote. So she's going to kind of give an update since we do have a lot of Gwinnett folks here with us.
Thank you much. So the transit referendum in 5 minutes or less. I'm going to try to do this. So on March 19th is a pretty historical moment. There's a referendum on the ballot to, it's actually technically to approve a contract with MARTA. Now, what does that mean? That's a nice button there. The county has just recently wrapped up a process and developed a plan that's called the Connect Gwinnett Transit Plan. And this contract with MARTA is what that plan would be implemented. So what MARTA would be building is actually not what MARTA telling Gwinnett what to do. The plan was created by Gwinnett, and MARTA will be putting that into place. It's a total of a 30-year plan, but it includes heavy rail improvements, bus rapid transit improvements, rapid or arterial rapid transit improvements, local bus improvements, flex or microtransit, which we have a pilot going on in Snellville right now if you haven't heard about it, and other additional improvements. The first 5 years of the plan is a 100% increase on transit service alone on bus, and the overall plan in the 30 years is a 400% increase in transit services, so it's a pretty big deal. The other part of this contract, which is a little different than the relationship that Fulton, Clayton, and DeKalb have with MARTA, is that the penny that is collected does not go directly to MARTA. It goes to Gwinnett first, and then Gwinnett will pay MARTA for the services provided. The chairman kind of negotiated with the team to put this contract in place to sort of, I think, kind of address some of the fears that Gwinnetians have had in the past. So this allows Gwinnett to have oversight on how that penny's spent, to work collaboratively, there we go, with MARTA to develop projects. No debt can be taken out on the Gwinnett penny for projects other than projects that benefit Gwinnett. So it's really a win-win for the region because it's a big county that's being serviced by my little buses now that connect, but awkwardly. By getting us into the system, really it helps bring in a big piece to the region, but it also, in a way that helps the citizens feel good about how their planning is being watched over. It kind of splits, everyone's concerns and, and make sure everyone feels good about that. There's a sheet on. It's not me. There is a takeaway on your table. It has the 30-year plan on it. There is a ton of materials on the Connect Gwinnett Transit website. All the materials that we used to develop the plan, the full 167-page plan itself. So if you want to see where each individual route goes to, we have that sort of detail. Not to like the level of station design or exactly what technology, but where in the corridor it's going to run. If you can spread the word and just, get people out, I'm not going to tell you how to vote because I'm only here to educate, but if you can just get people out and active and educate themselves on the issue, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is happening? I am so sorry. Everybody awake?
Me singing. It might be interfering with this one. That might be what that is. We'll just talk loud. Y'all can hear us in the back, okay, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, we'll be good.
we're having interference between the two audios. This is what's happening. I'm sorry.
No, no worries. Thank you for trying.
Yeah.
All right, today's sponsor is 360 Network Solutions. Let Steve kind of come up. They help sponsor today's lunch, the delicious food, the nice venue, and all that. So let y'all give a little presentation on what y'all do.
Jenny said I had like 30 minutes and I got 42 slides, and then she said, no, not really, you got 5 minutes to do this. I threw up a slide up here real quick. What will the roads look like in 5 years? And then connected vehicles. I mean, that's the big topic today, right? So think about, what is it going to look like in 5 years? What is it going to look like in 10 years? Not the future, but I mean a timeline. 5, 10, 15 years from now, what is Atlanta roads? What are the Atlanta roads going to look like? How much is connected vehicle, connected intersections, smart cities? Where is that going? I think it's exploding. It's a fun time to be in ITS. So 360 Networks solution. A lot of you know who we are. Our focus is smart city and smart transportation. Put it in a nutshell. We focus in on 4 direct areas though, right? Connect, monitor, manage, report, and secure. So we want to connect everything. We want to be able to monitor that using video detection, managing, right? We do product management or project management. Reporting. So we're taking all of this data, and that's one of the big things with smart cities and smart transportation. We're generating a lot of data, so now what are we going to do with all this data, right? So we have a lot of data sets. Now we have the ability to take a lot of those data sets and then use that information, as you all know. Secure. So that's a big thing for us also, is the cybersecurity side of connected vehicles and smart city. And the physical side of this, the physical security aspect of this connected data and smart cities. So real quick, a little bit about our partners, Axis, Cisco, Genetec, Assa Abloy, Medico, Southern Manufacturing, Coda Wireless, DSRC, Traffic Vision. Y'all can see a lot of those. So our focus is primarily, again, it's technology, video, analytics, software, smart city stuff. So a lot of the things, the technologies that we've employed and deployed, cybersecure hashtag cybersecure ITS, right? A shameless plug for that. We were heavily involved with the Super Bowl and getting the cabinet secured with card reader and electronic keys, which is about 80 cabinets around Mercedes-Benz. Incident detection, video analytics, and the newest product that we're working with right now is connected smart work zones. So I should have taken this and modified it and taken out the Y in the your instead of saying transportation innovation at our fingertips, right? So everybody in here, we have technology that we can deploy and make Atlanta better. Smart city, smart transportation. The roads are getting connected. The cars are getting connected. People are already connected. But putting all of that together into a smart city mobility, right? And we have that ability to do that. And a lot of the people that are in this room have the whereabouts to do that also. And that is 360. Thank you.
Thank you. So every year we do. So every year we have a scholarship program. We put out a question and receive applications, and we award the scholarships. And then in the next February or January or February, we have the students kind of come and present on what they wrote about. So that's what we have today. I'll just read this. For the 10th consecutive year, ITS Georgia has supported student involvement in intelligent transportation engineering and sciences through the Wayne Shackelford ITS Engineering Scholarship Program. Mr. Shackelford was an early ITS visionary, co-founder of ITS Georgia, and a Georgia Department of Transportation commissioner. This year's challenge question for the scholarship application was, assume we reach the goal of Vision Zero by the year 2025. What role did ITS and traffic technologies play in achieving this goal? The winners of the 2018 scholarships are here with us today to present on their submissions. And I'm going to let our Rachel, who's with 360NS as well, with our sponsor, she's going to read a bio for each speaker, and they're going to kind of come up and present on what they submitted to our scholarship committee. So, awesome. Thank you.
Katie's first. Okay, Katie Pop. Katie Pop is a third-year undergraduate student from Woodstock pursuing civil engineering at Georgia Tech. Her interest in the future of transportation technology was sparked by a capstone project assigned through the Global Engineering Leadership minor. Through this minor, Katie has had the opportunity to live and learn in Singapore for 5 months in spring of 2018 to gain knowledge about the city and their approaches to traffic engineering. On campus, Katie is involved in new student and transfer programs, sorority, Engineers Without Borders, and volunteering for Children's Health Care of Atlanta.
Okay. Okay, I guess I'll sort of scroll as I go through it, but good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Pop. I'm a third-year undergraduate student at Georgia Tech, as mentioned before. As an undergraduate student who still isn't 100% positive on exactly what field I want to pursue, Vision Zero and ITS were two pretty new ideas for me before I started researching for this essay. But after doing so, I developed an interest in ITS in achieving Vision Zero globally and domestically, which brings us here today to my presentation on the role of ITS in achieving Vision Zero. So a brief overview of what I'm going to be going over today. I'm just going to talk about the idea of smart and sustainable cities and the role it plays in establishing the connection between Vision Zero and ITS. We're going to talk about two case studies from Atlanta and Singapore, and then acknowledge the importance of a global perspective and the limitations that we might have. So the idea of ITS in achieving Vision Zero is part of this overarching idea of achieving or developing a smart and sustainable city, where the smart ideas come from ITS and the sustainable ideas come from Vision Zero, which has a lot of social impacts. And these two ideas combine to form mutually beneficial components that address the needs of every single citizen, not just certain groups like drivers or humans. It would address both drivers and humans. So I think one of the most important things to acknowledge when talking about ITS and how we're going to achieve Vision Zero is talking about whose priority. Is it the driver or the human? And establishing these goals will help develop an ideology of what ITS is going to be a tool for. It can be used to make cities more efficient, to make more money for certain cities, and also to develop communities. But in terms of Vision Zero, you really have to think about how ITS is going to be applied to the individual lives of humans that cross streets, that are in roadways frequently, like cyclists, or just drivers in general. And this brings me to this quote at the bottom of the page by Mats Akebellen, and he's a Swedish traffic strategy analyst, and he says, "Let's create a system for the humans instead of trying to adjust the humans in the system." And this quote is really important, especially in just a problem as common as a busy intersection. Are we going to fix the humans and tell them that they need to be more aware of their surroundings, or are we going to actually adjust the system to 100% guarantee that these humans are going to be safe when crossing streets? So these two images came up whenever I just simply Googled intelligent transportation systems, and it was kind of interesting to see the differences. On the left, the image shows individual people in the crosswalks, and they're part of the system. They have little Wi-Fi symbol above their head. But in the right image, there's no individuals pictured, and that just shows the perception of like, how are we going to use ITS to help achieve Vision Zero? We need to include people in the system and not exclude them and just focus on the system itself. So my first case study or city that I researched whenever writing this essay was in Atlanta, the North Avenue Smart Corridor project, which is actually right outside. Establishing or implementing a bunch of IoT sensors in the past couple of years has been a really pivotal moment in our city's sort of structure. But I think one of the biggest questions we have to ask is what are we going to do with this data? So we're collecting all this data, but will it be applied to sort of fix the system and move more people through intersections, or are we going to use it to actually address the needs of every single person that uses these intersections, including pedestrians and cyclists? And one of the most sort of shocking statistics that I came across was that between 2006 and 2015, there was a 53% increase in collisions between cars and cyclists and pedestrians. So we want to use this data to help everyone, not just the drivers in the vehicles. And as mentioned before, I had the opportunity to learn and study in Singapore last year, which was a great way to understand exactly how people are how certain people or individuals are prioritized over drivers or fixing the system. So one of the main technologies that they've implemented is Green Man Plus, where elderly people and handicapped people get these cards that they can scan at crosswalks, and they'll be guaranteed a completely stopped intersection in 6 to 12 more seconds to cross the street, which is really interesting because they're targeting certain populations and not just drivers as a whole. And they're also talking about moving towards a satellite-based traffic management system where drivers will be taxed based on the distance that they drive and the roads that they use to get to places. And then they're also confirmed to be using, to adapt autonomous buses to certain routes in 2020. And they're shifting to a no turning on red ideology. So in the United States, it would be, no one would be allowed to turn right on red, but in Singapore, they drive on the opposite side of the road, so it would be no turning left on red. So the reason that I brought these two cities together was because I wanted to encourage a global perspective. It's very obvious to acknowledge the differences. Singapore is a city-state, or a city-nation-state, and Atlanta is a city and a state and a nation. So in terms of policies and public opinion, it's very different. But it's also very interesting to talk about the similarities, like population. The population of Metro Atlanta is about 5.7 million, which is very close to the population of Singapore. And this green blob right here is the perimeter of I-285. So the area of I-280 inside I-285 is very similar to the area inside of Singapore. So finding similarities and adapting the successful projects that have happened in Singapore is really important to the future of Atlanta and the United States in general, just because we're a little behind. And it's also important to acknowledge that historically in the United States, we try to help out the mass and not just individuals, like trying to get as many cars as we can down the road, as many cars through an intersection at a time, instead of targeting the elderly people and handicapped people trying to cross the streets. In terms of limitations, I put a question mark next to technology because I believe we have the technology to kickstart these projects. It's just hard to implement them because of public support, budget, and policies. And we also have to develop unique solutions for each city. So just because a case study in Singapore, like the Green Man Plus system, works there, it doesn't mean it's going to work here just because a larger amount of their population is elderly as compared to ours. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for their attention and for inviting me to talk today about my essay, and I'd like to open the floor to questions.
Does anyone have a question? If not, I do. No? What role do you think the private sector will have in achieving Vision Zero?
I think the private sector has the minds and the funding to be able to develop these new technologies, and they have to work together with the public sector to implement them. So they play a major pivotal role in developing technologies that the public sector will implement.
Thank you.
Thanks. I don't know where the folder is. Might be at the bottom.
Okay, next is Ann Lee. Ann Lee is a PhD student in the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering at Georgia Tech. She's also receiving her MS in Statistics from Georgia Tech this spring. She earned her BS in GIS at Tongji University in Shanghai, China.
Hello everyone, my name is Anne. I'm a PhD student working with Dr. Gensler, and this is my last year. I'm gonna graduate this summer. ITS isn't actually my research area, but I will try my best to share as much as possible. Hopefully it will be interesting. In my essay, I listed 4 strategies in terms of using ITS to achieve Vision Zero in 2025. So I'll go through one by one. So the first is to construct a preventable system. So in this system, we firstly have the component of roadway infrastructure. So it's basically like a warning system with the collision avoidance. So just like what Katie mentioned, like the intersection. So if I'm at an intersection and there is a crossing vehicle like hitting a red light, if there is a camera there and it detects that crossing vehicle and tells me and alert me, I will be safer in that way to avoid that collision. And so in that system, we can also detect some other like real-time speed and wildlife and road weather. And then in this system, we also have the vehicles that can see, think, and act. Like, to be honest, I'm a bad driver. So if the car in front of me just suddenly stops, and it will take me like 2 seconds to take reactions. But if my car has an automated like braking system, it detects that vehicle in front of me and stops, I will be safe. And then in this system, we also have the drivers. I use OBD loggers to, it plugs in my car all the time. It detects my second-by-second speed, accelerations, and angles. And also it also detects my driving behavior. Like if I make like sharp right turns most of the time, if it can detect that, it can tell me that I'm making like those dangerous movements and I need to like educate myself to drive safely. And also in this system, we have the passengers. There's something called, I never heard of it before, called like active buckle lifter. What it does is like at the seat, it lifts up the seat and then tightens the seatbelt automatically. And then we have some other non-motorized roadway users like pedestrians and bicyclists. We can use ITS to like identify the safety-oriented routings to improve the during and post-crash cases involved with. I was really scared and like emotional, and I couldn't even like when I called the police, I couldn't even like tell my accurate like location, and how could they like help me if I couldn't tell my information? So in this system, we can use some automatic like crash notification system to call the police station and also the hospital and like them to take actions in an effective way. And we can also coordinate the signals and to do some like real-time navigations to avoid the secondary incidents. And third strategy is to connect Vision Zero with autonomous vehicles. So this is the car that I was in, in this year's TRB. It's like an autonomous van. It was really fancy. And I was one of the 11 drivers in that van. And what it does is we just put a destination in it and it navigates by itself. And when it sees the pedestrian on the road, it just stops by itself. And it's safe. But the thing is that in the next 15 years, it will be like a mixed fleet between traditional drivers as well as the autonomous drivers vehicles. So I think there will be some behavioral change, because as the example that I mentioned just now, if you see a crossing vehicle, if that vehicle is an autonomous vehicle, do you expect that vehicle to stop by itself and then you don't stop, or do you expect that you treat it as a normal vehicle? So I think we can use ITS to detect those behavioral change and address those changes. And the last strategy is to connect Vision Zero with shared mobility. So the goal of this is to increase the vehicle occupancy, to reduce the auto miles driven, and relieve traffic. So we basically we can share the everything in terms of transportation, like transit bus, a shuttle, share ride, share bike, share car, and share scooter. If we want people to share it, we need to increase the density of the service as well as the facility. But it comes with an additional cost. So we can use ITS to address this. This is actually part of my research area, is to think about a way to optimally allocate the resources when it is limited. We can do some optimization in terms of the location selection of the shared facilities, and also we can do some shared trips and signal timing and navigations. So that's pretty much it.
Anyone have a question? Okay, here's your question. Will autonomous vehicles create more opportunity for distracted drivers?
I think yes, because for me, my husband drives most of the time, and he drives and he plays Pokemon, and it's really dangerous for us. But it would be awesome if we can use autonomous vehicles. I
And
think.
they can play and drive.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Sibby's here, right? Okay. Okay, Sibby's next. Sibby's a PhD student at Georgia Tech in the School of Civil and Environmental Engineering. He has a diverse research focus, including infrastructure asset condition assessment, crash and safety analysis, pavement's 3D surface texture evaluation, driver behavior analysis, and geographic information systems. His research approach employs the applications of 3D scanners, LiDAR, and IMU sensors in transportation safety and infrastructure health condition monitoring and maintenance. He's been an active member of ITS at Georgia Tech since its revival in 2016 and served as the president for the past year of 2018. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello everyone, I'm Sibi Pranav, PhD student. Before I go into the details of the technology, I like illustrations, and I have an illustration here representing how ITS can contribute to Vision Zero. And what I have is, I'm imagining that Vision Zero is like a massive building, and then ITS is one of the blocks of that massive building. And before I go into the details of how it is laid out, I just want to share that for the Vision Zero, which is zero fatalities in roadways by 2025, is an ambitious project. And but it could be ambitious. However, we can be more systematic in addressing them. And when I say systematic, if we can target those fatalities which are predominant, probably the top 4 or 5, and then that could contribute to 60-70%, then we are right on the track. So of that, a quick research revealed that majority of these roadway fatalities happen in the priority order, which is primarily overspeeding, alcohol influence, pedestrian crashes and distracted driving. So if our ITS technologies could help in addressing these specific targeted factors, then probably we are on the right track. And assuming that this entire structure of Vision Zero is the superstructure of a building, then we'll have to raise the foundation and pillars. And from the Vision Zero's networks, they have identified about 9 elements or foundational philosophies in which you can achieve this zero fatalities by 2025. And I have identified 3 of them, which is to be the footing of this building. That is data-driven problem identification, multidisciplinary collaboration, and equitable and systems design. This is where ITS can significantly contribute to the Vision Zero. And then the technologies are the supporting pillars for this massive structure. So let me go through each of them now. And first is data-driven problem identification. Well, we have tons and tons of sensors coming into picture. Technology is like massively available. And then we have IoT systems. So combining all of these is critical, and using this, now we are generating more data, and if we can employ more focus on the particular type of factors leading to these fatalities using the data we have, then that addresses our bigger picture, which is, okay, we have these factors, so we are coming to these factors, and data supports it. And once we know that data is available, then we can go one after the other. For example, when we want to address overspeeding, we have, you can utilize dynamic signs, avoid artificial intelligence, etc., to directly communicate with the drivers and also provide more roadside assistance for the drivers to be wary of. Because static signs, people are used to it, but then when you have some dancing signs on the road, then people are, okay, something's happening there. I need to watch out for something ahead. And for the next one, which is alcohol influence and distracted driving, I believe artificial intelligence can play a major role. In a sense, when we are having loads of cameras in all the road systems, we are monitoring these vehicles. Instead of just counts, if we can track vehicles, all of them, probably 30 seconds or so continuously, then we can set thresholds that would say whether they are driving within the normal behavior or are they deviating from the normal behaviors. Okay, if somebody is under the influence of alcohol, you know, the vehicle would be wavering, and we can capture all those things. And coming to smartphones, I know this has become more ubiquitous part of our life, and it is both a boon and a bane. Boon in the sense, we can inform the drivers or the users about what's coming ahead. But bane, it's causing distraction. Everybody's going to be distracted if you're... we had Annalise who's been playing Pokemon, but what if there was some danger situation that's going to come right in front of you, and then the phone just hangs up and then says, look up, don't look down, look up, there's something wrong happening. So in that sense, technology can also be a boon. And the final thing that I want to focus on is equitable and system design. And I'm a researcher in rural road safety, and in my research I find that rural roads, majority of them are having the fatal crashes. The severity of crashes are higher on the rural roads, and the rural roads contain just 5% of curves, but 25% of them are having fatal crashes. That's a disproportionate number. And prime reason for that is it could be the design insufficiencies. Insufficient cross slope, insufficient friction, or insufficient speed reduction. What if you know that you need to reduce your speed by 25 miles and then you didn't know that? You're just going to go right over it, right? And you're going to go run off the road. But if you could employ ITS, especially with the autonomous vehicles with LiDAR systems in them, we could identify locations which are dangerous. Once we identify that, that data itself can be useful for two different sets of people. One is the drivers, because you can be given advance warning. The second, the transportation agencies and the road managers, they will know where to improve or what is the necessary warning that you have to give for the users. So I have not been very comprehensive in telling what ITS can do, but these are some possibilities. But one thing I want to conclude with is that the success of the ITS technologies is going to be only seen when we deploy them again and again, so we can learn from it. And we are not going to stop with Vision 2025. It's not that 2025 we got 0 fatalities. We want to continue after that. If you want to do that, we need to fine-tune our technologies and practices. And thank you for giving us this opportunity. Any questions?
You mentioned one thing for the public, like if somebody's on their phone or they're looking down and then all of a sudden your phone alerts you and tells you maybe look up, there's a car crash or something. How do you think the public will react to the implementation of so many systems in their cars and on the roadways?
I think initially there will be resistance because you are used to a certain way of life in which you don't expect phone to suddenly hang up and say, no, probably you are like downloading some videos and it just hangs up, then you'd be frustrated. But it would take a few months and more public awareness before people get used to it. And anything new of this sort, there will be resistance, but over time, when people see the benefit, they're going to accept it.
I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned overspeeding. How about underspeeding?
And underspeeding and consequence of that?
Yes. I mean, not all accidents are due to overspeeding, right?
Right.
I mean, common sense calls for when people are underspeeding, they need to move to the right side. What would you put that on in your ideas or plans?
So underspeeding, and if you're specifically talking about the interstates, we can.
Not just that.
Okay.
I mean,
So you.
I live in an area that's a combination of these a lot.
Okay. Do you have any instances that you would want to share that says that underspeeding was an issue?
Well, just this morning, I almost got into an accident because the driver was on the left side, and again, it's you know, causing traffic, backing up. And they should move to the right side, right? I'm just asking, like, what would you point out as one of those
Sure.
possible? I guess I'm thinking about, I don't know. We mentioned about iPhones, the phones.
Right.
Speed up or move to the right.
Well, we can have that, or with the connected vehicles, we could have indicating or sensors which is vibrating, saying that move to the left, or if all the indicator automatically keeps triggering to the right, people are going to see, no, okay, it's going right, I need to make an action. We could use certain triggers for the people who are going slow.
I like that. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Steve, it's not getting. Can you get it back? Yeah, it's not working.
Go ahead.
Okay, next we have Shamdut Roy. Still here? Oh, you're right there. Oh, okay, sorry. He's a PhD candidate, transportation systems engineer, Georgia Institute of Technology, is MS degree in computational science and engineering. Come on up.
Am I the last one? Oh, okay.
No, you're not the last one. Well, is April?
But everything is already said, so, okay.
You're ready. It's here for you.
Okay.
You just keep it short and sweet then.
Okay, yeah. I think everything is said, as I said, but yeah, I'll look at it how I look at it. So basically what Vision Zero is, it started in 1997, and it is based on two ethical ideas, one being that while we are doing a cost-benefit analysis in any project, The human life has a cost, but in here the opportunity cost has to be higher than what we take in general in any other projects. And also necessary steps need to be taken in cases of deaths. So in here, to discuss the role of ITS and traffic technologies, we'll attack it in two fronts, safety and efficiency. So talking about safety here, what I've talked about here are mostly warning systems. The speed compliance alert system, which is like speeding alert or say you broke a red light, that kind of alert. Vehicle size standard compliance, where we are talking about say somewhere there is restricted height and weight and the driver should be warned beforehand. We talk about emergencies, the situations in which we could use real-time traffic information and estimates and predictions based on our current models and then predict what incidents could happen and then warn the driver beforehand, and other warning systems about congestions that could make a swift maneuver and then have them vacate the places in cases of incidents. Crash warning is like, this is where we can use V2V technologies to warn and also sometimes take part of the control in the vehicle to avoid crashes, which are like mostly rear end or hard braking by the driver in front, or say sideway collision while someone is trying to overtake. In pedestrian warning, this is where it gets sometimes tricky because it's like you have to be on the app, but when you're on the app, you get distracted. And also I have talked about how special care could be taken in like warning the visually impaired about the crosswalk orientation, like something different, and maybe the crossing signal status change that has occurred. So while we talk about reducing the speed limits and all of that, something that comes with it is an inordinate delay. So to balance that delay, we could have sufficient V2I information that will integrate and help us ensure smooth operation and reduce delay. And real time, so this is a thing we are working on presently where we could use real-time information and then optimize signals, and it would be eventually smarter and greener roads. And with the advent of autonomous vehicle and connected vehicles technology, we could expect greener roads and smarter roads. And by greener, I mean having less congestions and less energy consumption. So looking at the present penetration scenario, Waymo already announced in 2018 that they are introducing a ride-hailing service, and they have already started implementing them in a smaller scale and made price models for it. And Ford also promised that 2023 would be the time scale in which they will have autonomous vehicles on roads in the test level. And considering 2023 as a time when these things happen, I don't think 2019 is too early to think about any kind of project that we are targeting at 2025. So I'll end with this and take questions.
You discussed broadcasting messages to the visually impaired pedestrian. How can this be performed quickly and efficiently?
Well, like you send text, like as a visual impaired person, you send text like using Apple phones. So in these connections, you could do shorter range connections using DSRC or Bluetooth, and that communication among people would be like the same as we use for a text message.
Thank you. And last but not least, April. April Gadsby. April Gadsby is a third-year PhD student in civil engineering at Georgia Tech. She's advised by Dr. Carrie Watkins and James Tsai. Her research uses an instrumented bike and eye-tracking glasses to understand the environmental causes of cyclist stress and discomfort to improve bike infrastructure and design. Welcome.
Thank you.
You don't have one. Okay.
Working on being able to present without them.
If I just close it, will it go off? There you go.
Cool. Well, I just want to start by saying how grateful I am for the scholarship from ITS. And My essay pretty much focused on the way that Vision Zero kind of acknowledges that there is human error involved in a lot of these accidents that are causing the deaths that they're trying to avoid, and that the system needs to address that. And so I've looked at this from three angles. I looked at it in the human error that's caused just true error. There's human error caused by willful error. And then also we can use data collection techniques to understand these forms of error better. And so in the general human error, there's autonomous and connected vehicles are coming out, and there's a lot of aspects of these that can address a lot of the human error that we see. For example, in rear-end collisions, you have brake warning, but there's also the possibility of, as more connected vehicles get into the system, you are able to see further ahead that there is a car braking. Possibly even we could adjust for people who are going extremely slow and under speeding by this. Maybe that would help. And then looking at kind of willful error, speeding is really easy. It feels fun, or it just doesn't feel like anything. And we don't really understand while we're doing this, hurtling down the roadway at 80 miles per hour, how dangerous that is. You don't really process that. And so you could implement things in vehicles such as haptic feedback that could give feedback to the driver in terms of haptic feedback would be resistance in the accelerator, so that they would feel it when they're going faster. And this could reduce speeds, and in particular high speeds are dangerous for people like me who bike a lot or walk a lot, because if a pedestrian is hit when a vehicle is moving at 30 miles per hour, the risk of them dying is only about 20%. However, once you increase that to 50 miles per hour, that risk increases to 60%. And so that sort of inherent resistance would help reduce errors in that way, and also not be a big privacy concern, because one thing I did think about was automatic enforcement, which is used in a lot of other countries, but that is a privacy concern for a lot of people. And then also kind of more near and dear to my heart, because what I do is data collection in terms of safety, behavior, stress, is that we can collect data on near misses, because when you have that brake collision warning or that sort of thing, it would be possible, at least I could envision it being possible, to send that information to some sort of anonymized cloud, and then we could see where are these near misses occurring, because an accident is much less common than a near miss, and we could look at these to kind of approximate accidents and gain a better understanding of the surroundings and a better means of adjusting for that. So are there any questions?
How do we convince lawmakers and the general public that ITS automated enforcement is a good idea?
I would probably focus on the deaths that are caused by the things that we would want to enforce. I think there is a problem inherent in the privacy concern, and as a researcher I can see how we can anonymize this data fairly easily and make it so that we don't know, or I guess it would be enforced, they would know, but the whole society doesn't need to know this sort of thing. But yeah, I would probably just focus on who's dying. I know that in other countries, when they focused on the deaths of children caused by accidents, people were much more malleable.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, and thank you, Rachel, for moderating that. We're ending right on time, but a few announcements, reminders. Our next March monthly meeting will be March 27th. It's Wednesday. Location still to be determined. We have a venue we're hoping will work, but we're still trying to sign a contract there. So there'll be potentially a new venue that should be pretty cool. Trivia is tomorrow night at the Wing Factory in Cumberland. If you're interested, you can go online and register. If you have questions, you can ask Rachel or Mark if he's here. He's a veteran himself. The webinar series, the next one is Thursday, March 7th on connected vehicles, transportation technology, and traffic management. If you're interested in that, go onto our website and register for that. And then our annual meeting, which will be October 6th through the 8th in Athens. Go ahead and mark your calendar. And if you're interested in getting involved and helping with that, you can see Chuck Bailey. There's flyers on the table. Don't forget to vote in Gwinnett residents, March 19th. And if you're interested in getting involved with ITS Georgia, come talk to me, come talk to any of our board members or active members. Go online, see what the committees are. We'd love to have new eyes, new ideas, all that. So thanks for coming, guys. We'll see you next month.